need complex, innovative solutions to resolve and solve our challenges.
The main issue that we have there as a community, we're having an issue of water.
The amount of break-ins that happen on a weekly are just insane.
We've been going ups and down, trying to contact all the relevant to come and help us here, but in no avail.
The streets are very dirty, so they don't come and pick up the things in the street.
Local governments are just around the corner. That's when they are going to come.
You can never lead the people that you are not engaged with.
Tonight, we are shining the spotlight on the City of Gold. It's topical, and it starts right now. A very good evening to South Africa, those watching around the world. My name is Blaine Herman, and this is It's Topical, our digital audience with us tonight. Looking forward to getting some of their questions for our guests in a short while. Service delivery. It boils down to having water, electricity. It's about feeling and actually being safe. As parents, as citizens, those are our priorities, right? It's not about political wrangling. It's not about an individual's political ambitions. It's about taking care of your family. And leaders need to be conscious of this, because you don't want to play with legitimate frustration from the electorate. You want to speak to it and have a counter message that makes people feel included and empowered. We can't let politics reinforce our worst instincts. We need to build on our best instincts. It's about ethics. It's about maturity and a devotion to the cause. And that cause is of the collective. Johannesburg, it has a remarkable history. Back in the 1800s, gold was found. Word got around about the discovery. It attracted thousands of people. Settlements sprung up. The goal for many, a better life. Fortune and new opportunities were on offer. Let's fast forward over 100 years later, and the search for a better life in this major economic hub continues. Many still leave their home provinces to settle in the City of Gold. You've heard the informal talk at home or at your workplace. You have to go to Johannesburg, man, to make it, right? Many trying to get a piece of the pie. But is it a pie in the sky type of situation? Those who have made it would disagree, of course. But what about those who are still struggling to realize their goals? What's preventing a better life for all? Also, to what extent is politics getting in the way of service delivery? We will discuss. The city is set to host the world's leaders soon, the G20 Summit taking place in November. It leads us to the question of the week, and we're asking you, in a city weighed by service delivery challenges, can Johannesburg rise to shine on the global stage as hosts of the G20 Summit? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Let us know at SABC News_TV. Let's walk and talk, get you some context. This city is seen as essential to the country's economic recovery, right? So the question then becomes, how do we effectively fix South Africa's economic powerhouse? Again, we'd love to hear your thoughts at SABC News_TV. Perspective coming up. All right, let's get you some context. As always, we turn to the magic wall, what we know and why it matters. My guest tonight is Dr. Godfrey Khosenyane. He's a governance analyst. He's also a lecturer at Regenesis Business School. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Good to, if you can come in just a little bit,
Yeah.
talk about the city of Johannesburg. We know, we've heard reports of the Minister of Finance being concerned with regards to some of the issues around the city of Johannesburg. Reports coming from the city, irregular spending, 9.9 billion. Big numbers, unauthorized expenditure, 13 billion. Wasteful and fruitless infrastructure, 735 million. Does these numbers shock you? And if so, consequences?
These numbers are shocking, and it all talks to governance, because irregular spending
Irregular spending means that no proper processes were followed. Procurement processes were not followed. And unauthorized expenditure refers to when you spend money that you no longer have.
Right.
You're spending beyond what was allocated by Parliament. Wasteful and fruitless expenditure. Now this refers to expenditure that could have been prevented.
Right.
The institution did not derive any benefit from 735 million that is quoted here.
There's a cumulative amount
yes.
of about 23.6 billion rand.
Yes, there's quite a lot of money. Yes.
And mainly with regards to the non-compliance of the Municipal Finance Management Act.
Yes.
The city seems to have a plan to try and fix it. You confident?
I'm not confident because remember this is cumulative. It's not for the first time this happens.
Right.
Even in previous financial years, we already had this problem. So it's a recurring problem. And there have been measures before that were put in place to try and solve this problem, but it still continue. So I'm not confident, actually.
Talk to us about the city's budget and the mix. How does the city get its funding?
Okay, it's mainly from, I think, four sources. There's grant from the central government.
Right.
And then the city itself raises its taxes from property,
right.
And then sometimes they loan, they can raise funding from the market.
What about conditional grants?
And there are conditional grants.
Right.
Conditional grants are those grants that the central government gives to municipalities for a certain purpose.
So it's specific.
For a specific purpose, or a project or a program. So it can be used for any other thing.
Right.
That's why it's conditional. There are conditions attached to such funding.
So the question then becomes, if Treasury is unhappy with the way the finance situation is being handled, could they hold the conditional grants?
Yes, they can. They are empowered by, I think, Section 216 of the Constitution empowers the National Treasury actually to withhold those grants from municipalities if they are not complying with financial regulation. PFMA and in the context of municipalities, it will be the Municipal Finance Management Act.
Right.
So they are empowered to do to withhold funding.
What's the chances of that happening?
I don't think so that will happen because there's a lot. Again, these issues there are just a lot of politics inside. So politics plays a role on whether these things will happen or not. So I don't think they will.
Right.
They can do withhold funding from, especially from big metro like Johannesburg. Yeah.
We're going to get the mayor's take on this as well and the plans that have been put forward in order to rectify the situation. But look, we know that Johannesburg has infrastructure challenges. This sources from business tech, right?
Yeah.
And we go through a raft of issues: water loss, power loss, issues with traffic's not working, potholes, of course.
Yeah.
Again, what sort of strategies needs to be put in place in order to rectify this? You've heard of the bomb squad, and that is being put forward as a mechanism to sort out these issues.
Yeah.
Again, the question becomes, are you confident that this can be rectified in the short term?
In academia, there is this concept called institutional layering.
Yeah.
It's when you constantly put new rules, new programs, new structures on top of the existing structures. Why don't they just use the elected officials or municipal officials to do such a work? The bomb squad, is it even legal? Is it even constitutional? What's wrong with the personnel within the city? I don't think there's a way to go.
Right.
It's just another layer, governance layer, or is even going to make things even more complicated.
Well, the argument from the city, and I read a statement recently, is that it is effective, or it's getting some results done. I'm going to break it down a little bit further with the mayor.
Yeah.
But you don't see it as, look, anything that advances something that we can get to a better place should be welcomed. But you're saying this is just adding a layer of uncertainty.
Yes, because how are they going to interact with the full-time staff? are we not going to create tension or even conflict amongst, the officials within the city and those the bomb squad?
Right.
I think it's just adding another layer of complexity on top of an already complex situation.
Right. Okay. So we will, again, put that to the mayor and get his take. Yeah. But I want to give the viewers a sense of how important it is for Johannesburg as a major powerhouse, economic powerhouse, to succeed in the national context.
Yeah. Yes, as you can see here, Johannesburg contributes 16% toward the national GDP. And I stand under correction, but I think it contributes between 30 and 40% to the economy of the whole province, of the Gauteng province. So these are no small numbers. Yeah. You can see if something, if this city collapses, how it is going to bring down the whole country, because it's a major economic hub, not only economic hub but financial hub. Right. And 12% of the workforce in the country are situated right here in Johannesburg. And major international foreign banks and finance institutions, they've got their head office right here in Johannesburg. Right. So it plays a major role in the economy of the whole country, not only the whole country, but on the African continent also. So we can really let it to collapse.
We're going to flesh these issues out in a short while in greater detail. Yeah. Thank you for your better mind. We need the context. We ask you to stay to be part of the discussion as well. Dr. Godfrey Kosinyane, a governance analyst and a lecturer at Regenesis Business School. We're going to take a quick break. Up next, discussion. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical. I want to remind you of the question of the week, and we're asking you, in a city weighed by service delivery challenges, can Johannesburg rise to shine on the global stage as host of G20 Summit coming up in 2 months' time, in November, actually? To help us discuss this, we have the mayor, Executive Mayor of Johannesburg, Dada Morero, as well as Dr. Godfrey Kosinyane, a governance analyst and a lecturer at Regenesis Business School. We also have our digital audience as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Please, if you have any questions, let's raise those hands. I want to bring you part of this discussion. It's important to get your take and your questions for the mayor as well. Councillor, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Let's start where we left off in terms of the question. G20, November, are we ready? Is Johannesburg ready?
Well, let me respond in this fashion. We have hosted so far 4 meetings of the G20. Well, the first one would have been the finance ministers meeting. We have hosted the health ministers meetings. So there have been about 4 meetings already hosted in Johannesburg of the G20. Right. Of course, as part of the build-up towards the summit in November, there's a team that meets at least on every Tuesday, which is provincial government and municipalities, or the 3 metros, in an attempt to ensure that we go through every issue that needs to be done in preparation, whether technical issues, safety issues, service provision issues. So those we attend to them on Tuesdays, on a weekly basis, to ensure by the time the summit sits, all the issues are dealt with. So we think we are a city that has hosted even before huge events. So we do have the capacity to ensure that the G20 becomes successful, the summit becomes successful in November.
What happens over the next 2 months in order to tick all those boxes?
Well, the number of things that we need to continue on the safety side. We must ensure that our law enforcement teams are ready, and that's what we are doing. I think they're doing exercises, all sorts of things to ensure that they are ready. Right. On the water side, on the electricity side, to ensure that we resolve all the electricity challenges that the city might be faced with now and even beyond the G20, so that we continue to provide proper service to our people. So we think we have an eye on the ball, and the teams are working to ensure that everything is smooth. And as I said, we have already hosted 4 meetings. which has given us an opportunity to test the magnitude of the event and how ready we are as a city. Of course, there are things that still needs to be done to ensure that the environment is welcoming to our guests, which is an important thing to do. So we are attending to some of the issues that we think still requires attention.
A lot of talk about your bomb squad.
Yes.
Your team put out a statement recently on the bomb squad saying that it was established with a clear mission to combat crime and disorder through a military-style approach that incorporates proactive business intelligence gathering. Break this down for us, Mr. Mayor, a military-style approach.
Well, I think the team got a bit excited to have used the term. But in essence, what we did was to say the challenges and the constraints that we've been faced with since I took over requires us that we bring expertise and people who are Joburgers who are willing to help us. Because I recognize one thing, the challenges are huge. When I took over, I realized that they've got so much challenges and government alone will not be able to do this thing. It will require us to create partnerships with business and the private sector, civil society, ratepayers association, etc., etc. And over and above, I said there are people with skills who are former city officials who've got the institutional memory. Let me also invite them to come on board. And we termed it a team, a bomb squad. In essence, it's giving us support. For example, you've got one former city manager as part of the team. He was an engineer who was a former CEO of Johannesburg Roads Agency and was beginning to advise us on a number of issues.
Right.
And also giving a lot of support to the CEO of JRA on navigating some of the challenges that JRA is faced with. So it's giving us good support over and above the administrators that we have there.
Right.
So the team in essence was basically to give support. It might have been that the team probably got excited to say militarize. I think the concept in essence was based on the RAPI concept of a bomb squad.
Right.
And for me, it's basically a technical team that I think is giving me the support that I require. And officials in government have also received some of the technical advice that these team members have been able to help us with. Secondly, they've been able to identify service delivery failures in communities, and they've been able to push our teams to get those service delivery failures to be attended to. I think at the bottom of the issue is that these are Joburgers. And I think we need to understand that Joburgers have also taken a view that they will not allow Johannesburg to collapse. They want to contribute towards making Johannesburg a better place once more, ensuring that Johannesburg can still continue to grow the GDP and contribute to the national GDP.
Right.
So it's an important aspect that this team is playing.
The good doctor sitting next to you seems to think that this bomb squad adds a certain complexity, a layer of complexity in order to fight or provide services. Doc, just elaborate on your point.
Yes, this is what we call institutional layering, where you keep on putting new rules, new programs, new structures on top of existing structures. And I'm saying that such things causes complexity. They complicate matters even more. Because you've got the JMPD, and at provincial level, not long ago, we launched the safety wardens. Why can't rather the city, work with the province to utilize the safety wardens rather than adding another structure on top?
Mr. Mayor?
Because sometimes, and I'm also questioning the legality of the bomb squad. How is it going to integrate with the formal legal structures of the city?
Right.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, how would you respond
Well,
to that?
I think probably the doc might have not probably studied what this intervention is all about. It's not about crime prevention alone or by law enforcement. It's about the whole value chain of the services that the city is providing. The law does allow the mayor to establish committees, establish teams, establish partnerships. So there it's there in the law, the Systems Act. It's clear on what the mayor can do and what the mayor may not do. So I'm empowered by the law that I can bring experts, I can bring citizens through forms of committees
Right.
or technical teams. So that part is protected by the law in terms of the legality of the matter. And the team, Doc, it's in essence what we are trying to do with the team is to bring expertise to what we already have so that we can bring the support to the teams that we have. Because we have acknowledged as the mayor that there are constraints, there are limitations, and there are challenges with your current administration that is there. So the thinking was therefore bring this team that can help us. As I made an example about one of the team members who's a former engineer, a former CEO of the Johannesburg Roads Agency, who has been playing an important part, even advising our CEO and the team on some of the technical issues that they need to respond to, based on the fact that he has also institutional memory. He knows what we're able to do in addressing infrastructure issues. Because part of the problem, I must say, is infrastructure in Johannesburg.
Yeah.
And we need as much expertise as possible to respond. And I'm convinced as the mayor, we can't do this alone. We
Yeah.
need to bring resources, and that's why we've also established the Presidential Support Working Group, which has different work streams, about 8 of them, with an intention of pulling the other 2 spheres of government, ourselves also as local government and business, to try and respond to the issues of Johannesburg. Johannesburg can't fail.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we were talking about, and how significant Johannesburg is in the greater scheme of things, in the national perspective, economic perspective. Somebody sitting at home, Mr. Mayor, might say, look, anything that aids in service delivery is a welcomed initiative. The other person sitting next to them might say, but why does it need to take a hosting of an international event in order to get fast-paced service delivery? How would you respond to that criticism?
Let me respond in this fashion. We took over in 2023, and part of the things that we had put in place was to say, what are our priorities and what are the key areas that we needed to focus on? Crime prevention and bylaw enforcement, financial sustainability, and service delivery. So those were the core, and of course, smart city as the 4th priority that we thought we should focus on as this coalition government. And effort since 2023, when we came in, has been focused in responding to those issues. And it's not about the G20. G20 is one event that was announced that South Africa is going to be hosting. We are also hosting as a municipality. We are hosting the U20, which is happening on the 12th to the 15th. We're hosting mayors around the world who will be descending to Johannesburg. So these are not the first events that Johannesburg has hosted. We hosted the World Cup, hosted the rugby. We've hosted major events in Johannesburg. So whether we like it or not, we'll continue to host events as Johannesburg. And it is also important for Johannesburg to attract such events into our city. But we're not responding on the basis of events. We're responding on the basis that this is part of our priorities, this is part of our task, and we must continue to provide those services to our citizens.
I want to take it to the citizens now. I see a lot of hands up. I want to get their questions for our guests. Let's go to William first of all. William, your question?
Thank you, and good evening to everyone. So my question is in terms of what expected economic benefits are there going to be for the country? Also, what opportunities will be given to local businesses to showcase their services and products during this time? And then thirdly, how will South Africa and government capitalize on the G20 event to attract foreign investment and greater infrastructure in the country? Thank you.
Thank you, William. Let's take Mpho.
Thank you, Blaine, and good evening. I have a concern, and I think the question you just addressed just now was valid in saying that people are worried about whether or not the municipality only responds to service delivery needs when there are big events. Because we saw this with the World Cup. We saw this with the Rugby World Cup. There was a whole street that exploded that took months to fix. I'm not even sure if the street has been fixed yet. So we constantly see a surge in attempts of fixing problems when there are periods where we're going to have international eyes on us, which one undermines the needs of the citizens in general, because it shouldn't have to take those types of events for the city to put those things as priorities, especially because the city has let so many places in Johannesburg deteriorate over the past few years. And it takes even longer for us to now fix those problems. And the longer we take to fix those problems, the more expensive it becomes for us to fix. So my question now to the mayor is, how are we going to ensure sustainability? Are we going to fix things specifically for this period so that the international eyes that are on us have a good outlook? Or are we doing this because this is what we need to do and we know we've been slacking on service delivery? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. We'll put that to the mayor in a short while. I just want to take a few more. Dimakatso, for you, to you first, and then Cornelia, and then Ruth.
Thank you very much, Blaine. My question and contribution to this discussion is to the mayor, and I think it would be quite lazy for us to say that there's an establishment of this bombshell team that is there to assist the city in terms of some of the functions and shortfalls that they've been facing. The critical aspect of this is that the mayor must highlight where the failures are and what prompted the need to implement this bomb squad or team of expertise that are going to aid the city in performing its duties. And I think it's very necessary for us to understand where the gaps are. In terms of economic and financial sustainability of the city, there's a shortfall in terms of things like property tax collections or revenue mobilization in general. So have they explored any alternative methods to making sure that the city is able to sustain and deliver services way beyond the term of the G20? Because that will only give us confidence that the city is working on a solid plan that is sustainable for the future, only if there's a framework put in place to this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Point taken. Let's go to Cornelia.
Thank you, Blaine, and good evening. I think my biggest concern, looking at how our revenue collection is far below the 95% benchmark, debt is rising, and liquidity pressures are putting essential services at risk. So I guess now my question becomes, how will the National Treasury and the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs act to prevent such a fiscal collapse at municipal level, particularly in Gauteng's two largest metros, City of Tshwane and City of Johannesburg? Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Let me just pause it there. I'll come back to you, Ruth, and Moletelo will take you in the second round. But let's get some responses, Mr. Mayor. Two of the questions revolved around the sustainability of concepts like the bomb squad, etc., in moving Johannesburg forward. So it can't just be for G20, we need to see legs afterwards. What sort of assurances are you giving the electorate, the public out there, that this will continue?
Thanks. If I were to respond to the questions, especially by William, which speaks to economic growth, which is a critical area. And one of the work streams that we have also proposed to the president is economic growth. And economic growth work stream, we have also taken a bold step or decision in our SOCA statement, which was delivered in May, that would need to grow our GDP with another 1% in the next 5 years. It's currently at about just under 2%. And we think with an extra % in the next 5 years, it will assist us to grow our economy. So there will be a focus that we have decided to do as the city, focusing on economic growth, meaning that the cost of doing business in Johannesburg has to be reduced. There are a lot of red tapes that we need to deal with, especially in our planning environment, in the water environment and electricity environment, to make it easier for businesses to come to Johannesburg so that we can grow the economy. We have no choice, the economy must grow. So I agree with William. Of course, the G20 will leave certain benefits and legacy programs, and these countries will also be bringing businesses that will be coming into the country to link up with local businesses and see what the other opportunities that will be created in that space. And Mpho refers to Lilian Ngoyi. I will be opening Lilian Ngoyi on the 1st of September. There were contractual challenges between the contractor who was appointed in terms of reaching the milestone, and as a result, there were delays and a new contractor was put in place. We'll invite you on the 1st of September. We'll be officially opening the portion in which the explosion happened. But over and above, we then took a view to do a complete street program so that the entire Lilian Ngoyi Street will be revamped, which is the second phase. Hopefully we'll complete the second phase just around December, January 2026, so that at least you could see that there's a difference that was done on the street called Lilian Ngoyi. At times, yes, it's true, there are challenges in the city, and there will continue to be challenges because sometimes it's budget issues. And I'm trying to respond to Kwanele, especially in terms of revenue collection. I've taken a view that our revenue collection should be at 90%, but it has been stubborn at about 86, 87%. Contributing factors now post-COVID is unemployment. We've seen even number of businesses going into liquidation, which constantly contribute to the stubbornness of increasing our collection rate. But in terms of the budget cycles, our budgets are always assessed and approved by National Treasury before we can announce our budget. We were assessed at an assumption of 87%, and we were approved at that assumption, and we are collecting at 87. There are months where we've been able to go to 90%. In this quarter, were 2 months of April and May, where we're successful at 90%, and we want to keep it at that, but there are challenges that we are faced with in responding to Kwanele. So I think I've tried to respond to their questions.
I saw a statement that the city released with regards to the cumulative 23.6 billion rand. And you said that most of the unauthorized expenditure is due to bulk purchases of electricity and water that exceeded the approved budget, and the irregular expenditure is mainly due to the city acquiring goods and services without fully complying with the supply chain regulations. Now, I understand, Mr. Mayor, that you have responded to the finance minister with regards to some of his concerns. How is this going to be fixed?
Well, we have put in place a unauthorized, irregular and wasteful expenditure program. It's a reduction strategy, and the intention is to reduce unauthorized expenditure. You'd know that from the 23 billion, we have already regularized 12 billion of it, with an intention to continue to regularize what is still outstanding in terms of wasteful expenditure. We're sitting at about 735 million, which of course part of it has now been taken to council through what we call the disciplinary board, which is required by the FMMA that we must report it there, investigate, and officials that are found to have been negligent will therefore have to charge those officials. Now,
what progress has been made in that?
Progress has been made because there are matters already referred by council to the disciplinary board to investigate. And once we get the reports, remember what would have happened between 2021 and 2022, right up to late 2023, there was no disciplinary board in place because, of course, of political arrangements of coalitions and this coalition coming in. But our coalition was able in 2024 to then put the disciplinary board in council, and council approved it. We've got a disciplinary board. We have to act within certain prescripts of the law, and that's what we are doing now. So they will investigate, they will give us a report. Where we have to charge officials, they will do so. Where we have to recoup the money, we will do so. But it's sitting at 735, which is your wasteful expenditure. Now, in terms of unauthorized and irregular, it's also important to explain that the city would have received the services. The goods and services would have been received by the city. However, there might have been certain steps missed in terms of procurement. But let me make a simple example so that we understand that at times you're forced into unauthorized because of circumstances. For example, we had a power station in the Rodiport area. If we had not intervened because of the zamazamas underneath and this power station was to collapse, we had to therefore redirect the budgets which were not, because the power station was not budgeted for, because the understanding was that the power station is there, it's in good health, only to find that the zamazamas were busy underneath and it meant it was going to collapse. Then we had to redirect 60 million from somewhere else to attend to that problem. Otherwise, had we not attended on it on time, it would have meant about 10-kilometer radius of people in the West Rand area would not have had electricity. So some of these things are caused by those decisions, and we have to make those decisions, but they were not budgeted for. Part of it is the bulk purchases of water and electricity, where you're experiencing a lot of illegal connections, you experience bypassing of meters, and not only by domestic and the poor, in fact, even by business. So that contributes to the challenges that we have in terms of unauthorized expenditure.
Let me bring in the good doctor.
We are on top of it.
Do you think, with your governance analyst hat on, do you think the city is on top of it?
At this point, there is no evidence. There is no evidence. And, you know, just a couple of days ago, I think about 3 or 4 days, we didn't have water where I'm staying. And I think, Mayor, you'll agree with me that you can't describe this as a challenge. It's actually scandalous that a big metro like Johannesburg can struggle with just basic water provision. But people raised something very important here, that it seems like service delivery is only heightened when there are major events. And I want to know, Mayor, whether these interventions, are they going to outlive the G20? And I'm saying this because there's a precedence. Remember 2010, you mentioned 2010. There were major infrastructure development and improvements. And we thought that it will continue, it will be sustainable. But then see where we are now. So I agree with people who say that it seems like we are only playing to the international gallery and not really caring about the citizens of Johannesburg. Is this particular intervention going to outlive the G20? How are we going to sustain it?
Right.
And as I'm referring back to the 2010, that after 2010, everything just went the way it is now.
Let's get your response, Mr. Mayor.
Well, let me respond to the doctor here. In this fashion, we'll continue as the city to do projects, whether there's G20 or there's not G20. For example, we have commissioned a reservoir and a water tower in Brixton, which we're about to conclude in the next few months. And the intention is to address the water challenges that we have had in that area of Brixton, Coronation, and all those areas. Now, there has been infrastructure challenges, and we never disputed that fact or tried to hide it. Part of the infrastructure in Johannesburg, it's old, it requires refurbishment. Our infrastructure backlog is sitting at about 250 billion rands, both electricity, water, and roads, which requires us to constantly focus on refurbishing of this infrastructure. So there are leaks throughout our system.
Yeah.
And that is why at times you'd find this particular area does not have water. And our task is to ensure that we find ways of ensuring that we resolve and close that problem.
Is our turnaround time getting quicker, though?
We've got
That's the
good
concern.
turnaround times that we have agreed on between ourselves and our entities. And it will vary. If it's a leakage, it should take us 24 hours. If it's this and this, it will take us 48 hours. So those service level agreements are there.
Okay.
And for us is to ensure that we respond. The doctor says he has not had water in 3 days. I don't know what would have been the reasons, and I don't know the area. But should he indicate this is the area, we're able to check, okay, in that area, the reasons why there's no water is because we are fixing the leak. When you fix the leaks, it means the area might be affected because you have to close the water.
For as long as 3 days, though.
Which allows you, remember, you don't know the magnitude of the problem. And the task, therefore, of the city is to ensure that we give proper communication to the residents. We might be lacking on that area, but we must give communication to residents. We have had in December almost 3 weeks of no water in Soweto, in Protea Glen. And what we then found was that there was a problem with the valves. And the valve, in fact, the owners of the houses had actually built on top of the structure, which meant we're just lucky that the valve was just a few meters away from the house. Otherwise, it would have meant demolition for us to get to the valve.
Right.
And once we opened that pressure valve, they had water instantly. So those challenges are the ones that will inform us how long will it take for us to resolve the problem.
Right.
So, but they must communicate as customers to say, we don't have water, then we must go and we have no excuse. It's our responsibility as government to resolve, but there are challenges and we need support of communities, including them telling us that there are problems, keep us on our toes so that we resolve the challenges that are there.
I'm going to go to Molotelo as well as Ruth in a short while. I need to take a quick break. I'm sure Ruth and Molotelo will keep the mayor on his toes as well with their questions. We're going to take a quick break. More discussion next. Welcome back. You're watching It's Topical Johannesburg, very much in sharp focus tonight, but going forward, the host of the G20 Leaders Summit happening in November. The city seems to think that they will be ready. They are ready. They've hosted a number of other events as well in the build-up to G20 Leaders Summit. So there's confidence blowing in the air. But what do you have to say with regards to service delivery at this time? Our regular Word on the Street feature took to various streets of Johannesburg seeking diverse insights and perspectives on this topic. And this is what you had to say. Watch.
The main problem that I see that occurs, all the time is sewage problems, electricity cuts and break-ins.
Service delivery is street lights that are not working. They're not coming to fix it. It's very crime, and also the streets are very dirty.
We have problems with sewage flow in the streets. We have problems with mast lights not working. And when I'm speaking about this, I'm not speaking about something that just started like a year or two ago. It is something that has been ongoing for years and years.
They promised about the electricity, but until today, we don't have electricity. Now we are using illegal electricity because we want to electricity to pay, but they don't want to give us the electricity.
We're using Sanitec toilets to help ourselves. And then right now, we're on a waiting of being electrified here. But it has been, since last year, December, they promised that they will electrify the place, but it has not happened yet until now.
I'm staying in Soweto. So the main issue that we have there as a community, we're having an issue of water. So we hardly get water, more especially in weekends. Towards weekend, we don't have water.
We find that there is a lot of buildings here in Joburg that are hijacked by foreigners And when we check them, we find that they don't have a permission to be here in South Africa, but they occupy those buildings. So we need that issue to be resolved so that at the end of the day, we can have a free country.
Right, we really appreciate your take on this. Mayor, of course, you noted down some of the concerns. Just park that for a bit. I just want to go to our digital audience, get their take as well. Ruth and then Molotelo. Ruth, to you first.
Thank you for your time. I would like to first point out the importance of sustainability beyond just what has been raised. We need to realize that beyond just the G20, South Africa, specifically Pretoria, hosts the second largest diplomatic missions outside of Washington, D.C., and that is in the world. Now, Johannesburg is an extension of this because there is also consular services in Joburg. So now if you're focusing on patchwork during the G20 specifically, these diplomatic missions have already seen the state of service delivery and underperformance, specifically in the city of Joburg. Now, these embassies communicate to investors the state of the country. So the importance of sustainability is beyond that of just the G20, but includes that of what is the perception of South Africa to diplomatic missions that play a stake in foreign direct investment. So that was just a comment. Now, my actual question to the mayor is, in what areas have you noticed a need for cross-sectoral collaboration and improved coordination between all three levels of government? And how does the city of Johannesburg plan to ensure sustained collaboration and coordination between these?
Thanks, Ruth. Molotelo.
Good evening, Blaine, and good evening to the doctor and the mayor. I think we can all sit here and try and be diplomatic about service delivery issues, because everyone is raising service delivery issues. And I think my biggest concern is when you know, as someone who travels in Joburg North quite a bit on an everyday basis, where you see the shacks popping up on the main roads and the amount of crime that happens around those areas. I think that is the biggest issue that I'm seeing. And I think in terms of looking forward to the G20, I don't see a sense of urgency, because even when you look at the state of the potholes, they never get fixed, or when they do get fixed, it's low quality. And then when it rains, the potholes open up again. So another thing is we need to realize that the city of Joburg has dilapidated, and it happened over time. It's not something that happened overnight. And our leaders just sat back and watched. And now we hear that there's a bomb squad, and then we have those wardens that walk around. However, my biggest challenge then becomes, why did it have to get to this first before there was an action? I feel like, you know, there's a lot of reactive work that is being done. We are not being proactive. The leaders are not being proactive in terms of dealing with issues. Right. It's a matter of being reactive. We wait for something to happen, and then we want to deal with it. And I think that it's a culture that has grown amongst our leaders in the country, where we wait for something to go wrong and then we want to fix it. So I just want to understand from the mayor himself, in terms of what are they doing about the shacks that are popping up. If you look at Witkoppen Road, if you look at Bryanston Main Road, there are shacks. What are they doing about it? Thanks.
Thank you very much indeed, Molotelo. Mr. Mayor, you get a sense that there's this uneasiness where people are saying, you know, it sounds too much of a coincidence that we have all this build-up and reinvigoration of service delivery at a time when we're hosting the G20. So I guess they need confidence that this is going to be sustained. And to Ruth's point, there's a lot of eyes on Johannesburg. So by merely papering over it for now, you'll be very soon caught out in the future, wouldn't it?
Well, thanks for the questions. I think they are quite practical questions. You'd know that a month ago, I went to Witkoppen in May, where we've got Ginger Park informal settlement, which has been there for some time now. And part of what we're doing also is to assess the informal settlement. We're in the process of acquiring a court order. Before you can act on anything, you must acquire a court order, And the court says, as a result of the Constitutional Court judgment, you can't evacuate people without providing an alternative. Now, the task that we have now is to deal with those informal settlements once we have confirmed that we've got an alternative accommodation. It has not been easy to find, because it also requires resources for you to find alternative accommodation. So I'm focused on those informal settlements on Vetkoppen and Main, and I think the other one is towards Megawatt Park, so that we find them alternative accommodation. And once we have closed that loop, we'll then remove and evacuate those people. But I must also say that there's a high level of illegal and undocumented foreign nationals in those informal settlements. And we have been working together with Home Affairs to try and find a way of dealing with those who are illegal and undocumented in the informal settlement. It also goes to the hijacked buildings. Hijacked buildings are not only hijacked by foreigners, South African citizens. It's a bigger problem that we have to deal with because it involves syndicates, it involves police, it involves a whole lot of people in that value chain. And it requires us to work together. In Johannesburg, when I came into office, I've at least evacuated 3 of the buildings based on the 12 court orders that I have, and we have been successful. But I still have a challenge with finding alternative accommodation. Now we're engaging with the private sector so that we can bring the private sector on board to help us with temporary accommodation, because you can't escape the fact that the court says once we evacuate those that have hijacked, you must provide them with accommodation. We continue to be an investment attraction as Johannesburg, and we must continue to place our city for investment, both direct and indirect investment. So we must continue to advocate for the world to come and invest here. And that's the work we'll continue to do. There are other cities within the city that at least has positioned ourselves better. The bigger challenge remains in the CBD and the areas of Berea and Hillbrow, which we are trying to turn them around. It's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take collaboration with the private sector and government to turn around the CBD. And it's a commitment we have made as the city, and there's work that we are doing towards turning around the state of the CBD.
Before us running out of time, Doctor, let me give you the last word in terms of consequence management. I think it's going to be key in the city of Johannesburg. What is your strategy going forward in order to revitalize the city?
Yes, it is clear that politics disrupt administrative services in Johannesburg. The mayor just a while ago, when we were talking about this bureau committee, that it was not existing because of political arrangements. And I would like the mayor to explain, the political administrative interface. How are you going to build a strong administration that will outlive any political changes? Because new politician comes in and they disrupt the administration, and they come with new rules, with new policies, and new programs that disrupt and even confuse the officials who are at the coalface of service delivery. Because sometimes, it's not managerial incompetences for lack of service delivery. It is because of the complex system within which the officials work. They are constantly being disrupted. But
Doctor, we have to park it there because unfortunately we ran out of time. But maybe it's a nice segue to invite the mayor back again and get a progress report just before the Leader Summit. But thank you very much indeed for your time, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate your time. Thank you, digital audience. As always, value added, important questions. Look forward to meeting next week as well. All right, before we go, here's my take. And I couldn't help but think about Eddie Grant's song, Give Me Hope, Joanna. Remember the tune? Joanna being Johannesburg, the song making reference to the racial segregation in South Africa at the time. And look, it was a different fight back then. But there's a common theme from then and now. What is that? Hope. The strong desire for a brighter future for you and your family, even in difficult times. But hope must be coupled with action. Citizens playing a greater role or taking more interest in how cities are governed. The need to insist on quality, skilled leadership as the electorate. Question, how do we use government as an instrument for good? It's an important question with far-reaching implications. And as I always say, it is about common concern and the collective will to be better and to receive better. So my hope is that our faith is in our leaders and the systems that we put in place to hold them accountable is rewarded with what we find in our collective future. And that's my take. If you miss anything on this program, then be sure to watch this episode of It's Topical on YouTube as well as on SABC+. If you're watching a repeat of this program, then as always, the news continues. Unwrap Africa up next with Tim Bekele. Until next week, my brothers and sisters, take care. Bye-bye.